Commander Thaddeus Blackwell stared at the viewscreen, his jaw clenching as the crimson emergency lights bathed the bridge of the UNSS Mercy Bringer in an ominous glow. "Confirm that report immediately," he ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. Lieutenant Oriana Voss's fingers moved across the holographic interface with practiced precision. "Confirmation received, sir. The Valaxian warships have opened fire on the medical transport vessels. Direct hits on the Hippocrates and Asclepius. Casualty reports incoming." "Impossible," muttered Chief Medical Officer Rivendell Paxton. "They can't claim they didn't recognize our ships. We're broadcasting on all frequencies. Universal rescue symbols, diplomatic credentials, everything by the Interstellar Handbook." The bridge fell silent as the implication sank in. The Valaxian Imperium had permitted Earth's humanitarian intervention after the quantum singularity disaster that had devastated their colony world, Valax Prime. 3 days ago, a failed experimental energy core had collapsed, creating spatial distortions that tore through half the planet. Billions would die without immediate aid. And now, the Valaxians were firing on the very ships sent to save them. "The Asclepius is gone, sir," reported Tactical Officer Zephyr Kalani, her bronze skin ashen. 800 medics, engineers, and relief workers. "The Hippocrates is sending distress signals, life support failing." Blackwell's fists tightened. "Get me Earth's Central Command. Now." "Sir, incoming transmission from the Valaxian flagship," said Communications Officer Darius Navarro. On screen, the image of High Commander Krelth appeared, the Valaxian's iridescent scales glinting under the lights of his bridge, for yellow eyes unblinking. "Your deception has failed, humans," Krelth hissed. "We detected your biological weapons. Your rescue mission was an attempted genocide, using our disaster as cover." "That's absurd." Blackwell slammed his palm against the console. "Our ships carry medical supplies, temporary shelters, food replicators. We analyzed your cargo. The biological signatures are unmistakable. Your species will not exterminate ours and claim our territory. This is your only warning. Withdraw all Earth vessels from Valaxian space immediately, or face annihilation." The transmission cut abruptly. "Sir," Lieutenant Voss said quietly, "the Hippocrates just went dark. No survivors. 15,000 dead rescue workers in less than 5 minutes. Blackwell felt a cold rage building within him. "They've engineered this," said Intelligence Officer Morgan Frost, her eyes narrowed. "Our cargo scans clearly show no biological weapons. They're creating a false narrative." "But why attack ships that came to help?" asked Dr. Paxton. "Because they never wanted our help," Blackwell realized. "This disaster provided the perfect opportunity to frame us and justify whatever comes next." As if confirming his words, sensors detected more Valaxian warships approaching from the adjacent nebula. Dozens of them, weapons hot. "Sir, we're receiving a priority alpha communication from Earth Central Command," Navarro announced. Admiral Thorne's weathered face appeared on screen. Behind her stood the Earth Defense Council and the Secretary General of the United Alliance. "Commander Blackwell," she said gravely, "we've received your telemetry. The unprovoked destruction of unarmed medical vessels constitutes a war crime under the Galactic Concord. We're mobilizing the fleet." "Admiral, this attack was calculated, Commander. Intelligence suggests the Valaxians have been planning a territorial expansion for years. They engineered this disaster themselves to draw us in, then fabricated an excuse to declare us aggressors." The Secretary General stepped forward. 30 minutes ago, Valaxian battle groups attacked our outposts in the Arcturus and Proxima systems. They're counting on their numeric advantage, while our fleets are dispersed." Blackwell straightened. "Orders, Admiral? Earth has formally declared war on the Valaxian Imperium. The Mercy Bringer is redesignated as a combat vessel, effective immediately. You're authorized to engage. Reinforcements are inbound." As the communication ended, Blackwell turned to his crew. Their shock had transformed into cold determination. "Battle stations," he commanded. They thought humanity would be an easy conquest. They're about to learn otherwise. 3 days after the massacre of the rescue fleet, the Valaxian High Command gathered in their war chamber, celebrating their initial victories. Their ambush had destroyed 19 Earth outposts across 3 star systems before humanity could organize a meaningful defense. High Commander Krelth raised a ceremonial chalice. To the Imperium's expansion, the humans retreated faster than anticipated. Their weakness is evident. They sent healers instead of warriors. Strategic Commander Vexthal clicked her mandibles in agreement. The operation proceeds as designed. Our propaganda broadcasts are already spreading through the sector, showing doctored evidence of human biological weapons. By the time the truth emerges, we will control half their territories. The chamber's massive doors slid open as a junior officer rushed in, scales pale with distress. High Commander, Earth vessels have been detected approaching Valex Prime. Kreltha's brow ridge furrowed. How many? A few dozen attempting to evacuate their diplomatic personnel. No, sir. Our sensors indicate 500 warships, and they're not slowing down. The celebration died instantly. Admiral Alara Ravencrest stood on the bridge of the Retribution, Earth's newest dreadnought, as it led the first wave of humanity's counterattack. The ship had been rushed into service, its quantum drive still undergoing final calibrations when the orders came. We've achieved tactical surprise, reported Captain Malik Thanatos. The Valaxian home fleet is scrambling, but they're disorganized. They expected us to be scattered defensive, Ravencrest said, her silver hair catching the light. They don't understand humanity yet. On Earth, the response had been instantaneous and overwhelming. The slaughter of medical personnel, doctors, nurses, engineers bringing only aid, had united the planet in a way nothing else could. Political divisions evaporated overnight. Reserve fleets were activated, manufacturing facilities converted, and retired military personnel volunteered en masse. Most importantly, experimental technologies previously considered too dangerous were immediately authorized for deployment. Weapon status. Ravencrest inquired. Nova cannons charged and locked on designated targets, responded Weapons Officer Lysander Quinn. Quantum disruptors ready. The Valaxian defense grid opened fire first, energy pulses streaking across space. Shields holding at 92%, reported Ensign Octavia Blackstone. Their weapons are less advanced than intelligence suggested. Ravencrest nodded. The Valaxians didn't expect to fight a real war. They expected conquest. She opened a channel to the fleet. All ships execute Operation Thunderstrike. Target military installations only. Across 500 Earth vessels, Nova cannons, neutron oscillation velocity accelerators, fired simultaneously. The revolutionary weapons had been developed for asteroid mining, but never weaponized, until now. The effects were devastating. Valaxian orbital platforms, already struggling with structural failures from the quantum singularity disaster, crumbled under the precision barrage. On Kreltha's command ship, panic spread as reports flooded in. Defense grid failing. Orbital platforms destroyed. Ground-based weapons neutralized. Krelth slammed his fist on the console. Impossible. How did they mobilize so quickly? Where did these weapons come from? Sir, his adjutant reported shakily, the humans are broadcasting a message on all frequencies, all languages. The view screen activated, showing Admiral Ravencrest's stern face. Valaxian Imperium, you have committed an act of war against humanity by attacking unarmed medical vessels on a sanctioned humanitarian mission. Your unprovoked aggression has been answered. This is not a negotiation. The transmission displayed footage from the rescue ship's final moments. Medical personnel in the midst of preparing supplies. Engineers readying disaster relief equipment. All slaughtered. We came in peace. You chose war. Now you will learn why humans have thrived despite the universe's hostility. We do not seek your extinction, but we will accept nothing less than unconditional surrender. The transmission ended. Krelth turned to his commanders. Launch everything we have. All ships. All weapons. But it was already too late. The Valaxian military had built their strategy on the assumption that humanity would be slow to respond, diplomatically cautious, and technologically predictable. They were wrong on all counts. 2 weeks into what was now called the Mercy War, the Valaxian Imperium faced a terrifying realization. Humans fought differently than any species they had previously encountered. In the war room of the Valaxian High Council, Strategic Commander Vex Thal's voice quavered as she delivered her report. They don't follow traditional battle doctrine. They adapt instantly. Our tactical data becomes obsolete within hours. And their weapons. Explain, demanded Krelf, his scales dulled from stress. The humans were holding back, High Commander. For centuries. What we believed were their most advanced military technologies were merely what they considered safe for commercial use. Their actual military capabilities were hidden. Council member Drax leaned forward. You're saying they've been concealing their true strength? Yes. And worse, they've been innovating at an unprecedented rate since our attack. Their engineers have converted civilian technologies into weapon systems in days, not years. Their entire industrial base has pivoted to war production. Across the sector, humanity's response had shocked galactic observers. Earth's diplomatic corps worked tirelessly, distributing unaltered footage of the rescue convoy's destruction. The Galactic Concord, initially hesitant to intervene, now condemned the Valaxian aggression. Meanwhile, Earth unleashed technologies previously considered too destabilizing for combat. Commander Ishida Takahashi led a squadron of newly commissioned stealth destroyers through the Cygnus Rift, outfitted with quantum reflection technology originally designed for deep space observation. Approaching Valaxian supply depot, she reported. Remaining undetected, her executive officer, Lieutenant Orion Blackwood, monitored the tactical display. 17 enemy vessels, plus the station. They have no idea we're here. The Valaxians had established their depot in an asteroid field, believing the gravitational distortions would mask their presence. They hadn't counted on humanity's adaptive sensor technology. Deploy the hive units, Takahashi ordered. From the destroyer's launch bay, hundreds of micro-drones swarmed out. Human-integrated virtual entities, each the size of a fist, capable of autonomous decision-making. Originally designed for search and rescue operations in hazardous environments, they now carried precise demolition charges. Hive units have penetrated the station, reported Tactical Officer Phoenix Starwind. Enemy still unaware. Takahashi nodded. Execute. Simultaneously across the station, the hive units detonated at structural weak points. The supply depot collapsed inward, crippled but not destroyed. Approaching enemy vessels, now launching, said Blackwood. Good, Takahashi replied. They're panicking. Phase 2. The destroyers decloaked, firing targeted EMP pulses that disabled the Valaxian ships without destroying them. This is Commander Takahashi of the Earth Defense Force. Your supply station has been neutralized and your vessels disabled. You have 30 minutes to evacuate before we destroy your ships. Escape pods will not be targeted. This pattern repeated across the sector. Human forces struck with overwhelming precision, disabled rather than destroyed when possible, and always provided time for evacuation of non-essential personnel. Back in the Valaxian war room, Vex Thal continued her grim assessment. They're not fighting to annihilate us. They're fighting to break us. Each attack precisely calculated, destroying our ability to wage war while minimizing civilian casualties. It's unnerving, because it demonstrates their superiority, Krelf said quietly. They don't need to kill us all. They just need to show they could if they wanted to. A junior officer entered, trembling. High Commander, we've lost contact with the 7th Fleet, and Earth has deployed something new at the Tholian Pass. What now? Krelf demanded. Terraforming engines, sir. Weaponized. They're reshaping space itself. Humanity's restraint, it seemed, was not born of weakness, but of wisdom. And that was more terrifying than any display of brutality could ever be. 1 month into the war, Admiral Ravencrest stood before the combined military leadership of Earth on the orbital command station Athena. The Valaxian military infrastructure is 73% neutralized, she reported. Their capacity to wage offensive war has been eliminated. Their remaining forces are fragmented and in retreat. General Arcturus Thornhill, his dark face lined with the wisdom of decades of service, studied the tactical display. And our losses? Minimal. 28 ships destroyed, 42 damaged. Personnel casualties under 1,000. Secretary of Defense Olympia Rhodes shook her head in disbelief. A month ago, our analysts estimated this conflict would cost millions of lives on both sides. Those estimates assumed conventional warfare, Ravencrest replied. We didn't fight conventionally. President Cassandra Horizon stepped forward. The question now is how to end this. The Valaxians haven't offered surrender. They don't understand what's happening, said Ambassador Dominic Aurelius, the lone diplomat among the military officers. Their entire strategic doctrine is based on overwhelming force and absolute victory. The concept of targeted military response, while preserving civilian infrastructure, is alien to them. Then we need to make them understand, President Horizon decided. Prepare the final operation. 2 days later, High Commander Krelf received the report he'd been dreading. Earth's main battle fleet, now grown to over 1,000 ships, had arrived at the edge of the Valaxian home system. They'll glass our homeworld, whispered Council Member Drax. Like we planned to do to their colonies. No, said intelligence analyst Mirthal, the youngest member of the Council. If they intended genocide, they would have deployed their planet killers already. I've studied their history. They possess the technology. Then what do they want? Demanded Krelf. As if in answer, every communication device on Valax Prime activated simultaneously. Screens, holographic projectors, personal communicators, all displayed the same image. Admiral Ravencrest standing beside President Horizon. People of the Valaxian Imperium, the President began. 1 month ago, your military attacked unarmed Earth vessels, bringing humanitarian aid to your disaster zone. That unprovoked act of aggression has been answered. The transmission showed footage of disabled Valaxian warships, neutralized military installations, and precision strikes that had carefully avoided civilian targets. Your military capability has been neutralized, continued Ravencrest. We could destroy your civilization entirely, but that has never been our intention. The feed switched to images of Earth vessels deploying what looked like massive engineering platforms around Valax Prime. These are terraforming engines, explained President Horizon, originally designed to make uninhabitable worlds livable. We've reconfigured them to repair the quantum singularity damage your world suffered. In 48 hours, the spatial distortions tearing apart your planet will be stabilized. Krelf stared in disbelief as the feed showed the first effects of the terraforming engines, the chaotic energy storms beginning to calm, fractured continents slowly realigning. Humanity's terms are non-negotiable, Ravencrest continued. Complete military disarmament, return of all conquered territories, reparations to families of the rescue workers murdered, and your leaders responsible for the attack will stand trial before the Galactic Concord. President Horizon's expression was solemn. You attacked those who came only to heal. Remember this. Earth will always answer aggression with overwhelming force, but we will never abandon our humanity in doing so. Your people sent weapons against our doctors. We're sending engineers despite your weapons. The transmission ended, leaving the Valaxian leadership in stunned silence. Outside the council chamber, civilians had witnessed the same broadcast. Reports came in of public gatherings forming across the planet. The people had seen the truth, and they had seen mercy. Krelf looked at his fellow leaders, seeing the same realization in their eyes. They had catastrophically misjudged humanity. They had mistaken compassion for weakness, restraint for inability. They had attacked a species that fought wars unlike any other, with precision, purpose, and the strength to show mercy. Signal our surrender, he said quietly, on all their terms. As the terraforming engines continued their work, healing the wounded planet, Earth's fleet maintained its position, a promise and a warning. The message was clear throughout the galaxy. Attack humanity at your peril. But more importantly, attack those under humanity's protection, those who cannot defend themselves. And humanity's response will be swift, overwhelming, and unstoppable. They had opened fire on a rescue convoy, and Earth had answered.